Yes, Ms. Kamish Ahmed.
Mr. Mitchell, the speaker says that he cannot hear you. I'm not sure, but I can hear you.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, are you able to hear me now?
He's gone now. I think he just needed to restart his laptop, probably.
Okay, can we give the rest of the members online an opportunity to just introduce themselves?
Greetings to all. My name is Dwayne Jacobs.
Good morning, Chair and colleagues. I'm Basil Petrus.
If those are all the members online, I just want to note that I have received an apology from Honourable Syed, as well as from the Deputy Speaker. Ms. Kamish Ahmed, are there any other apologies?
No, Chair, covered. Thank you.
I see the speaker has joined us again. So I'm not sure if he's able to hear me now. But Mr. Speaker, if you can go ahead and introduce yourself and the team from Parliament.
Good morning, Chairperson. Colleagues, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, good morning to you and the honourable members. My apologies, Chair. I'm on my mobile device because I seem to have technical issues with my laptop. So with your indulgence, I'm not going to switch on my camera. Chair, my name is Dalen Mitchell and I'm the Speaker of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. Chairperson, please allow me also this opportunity to render an apology for the Deputy Speaker who's leading the delegation at the CPC in Australia. Chair, I'm going to ask the Acting Secretary, Mr. Titus, to introduce the team.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. And good morning, colleagues. I'm representing the Secretary today. As the Speaker had indicated, the Secretary is in Australia. And so I'm going to ask the colleagues to introduce themselves, starting with Ms. Fauché, and then the rest of the colleagues, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Acting Secretary. Good morning, Chief Whip and members. I'm Sunal Fauché, Public Engagement. I hope you are enjoying this very sunny morning.
Good morning, Honourable Chairperson, members and colleagues. I'm Margot Goldstone, Director for Strategy and Institutional Oversight.
Good morning, Chairperson. Nicole Peterson, Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, Chair and members and colleagues. My name is Lubabalo Stemele, Director, Parliamentary Support Services.
Good morning, James Retief, Manager, Stakeholder Management and Communication Services.
Good morning, Chair and members. Dawood Jawuddin, Manager, Finance.
Morning, Chair. Themba Keswa, Manager, PEO.
Morning, Chair. Usman Alexander, Manager, Supply Chain Asset Management. Thank you.
Morning, Chair. Charles Dillman, Sergeant at Arms.
Morning, everybody. Zenzini Gallo, Manager, Financial Compliance and Internal Control.
Hi, good morning. Andre Leroux, Senior Legal Advisor.
Good morning, Genevieve Ackham, Manager in the Office of the Secretary.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, and Dorica Elliott, Office of the Speaker.
Good morning, Chairperson Mario Sassman, Manager, Committee Support. Thank you.
Morning, Chair Kobe Skrikker, Manager, ITDS.
Morning, Speaker Yanni A, Speaker's Office.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Ridwan Babu, Knowledge Management.
Morning, Chair and members. Madala Mathugini.
I don't see or hear any other introductions. I'm also just noting an apology from Member Kaiser Philander. And then we'll also note the apology from the Secretary of Parliament, noting that Mr. Titus is the acting secretary. Members, just a reminder again that we are following the virtual rules. And then I ask that members please keep themselves muted when they are not speaking, just to avoid background noise. You are welcome to use the camera function when you are speaking, and also if you'd like to flag any points of order, you can raise your hand or use the chat function. And then please remember to switch off your microphone when you have finished speaking. The first item on our agenda is a briefing by the Western Cape Provincial Parliament on the second quarterly performance, both financial and non-financial. So I'm now going to hand over to colleagues at the WCPP via the speaker to do that presentation.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. In the interest of time, I'm going to ask that we go straight into the presentation, and we'll field the questions as they are posed after the presentation with your indulgence.
Good morning, Chairperson. May I proceed?
Yes, you may, but just before you go, I just want to note, I noted the apology for Member Kaiser Philander, and just for the record, Member Masipa is standing in as an alternate for Member Kaiser Philander. But you may go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the report on the non-financial performance for Q2 of 2024-2025. The presentation will cover just a brief summary or an overview of the performance, followed by the detailed performance per budget program. I will skip the legislative framework and go on to institutional highlights. For the quarter, for committees, in terms of committee activities, the focus obviously was on the newly established committees would have been on receiving departmental briefings on the annual performance plans for 24-25, which is the final year of the strategic planning period, but the first year of the parliamentary term. There was also a joint visit done by the Standing Committees on Health and Wellness and Social Development to the Garden Route, which is George Plettenberg Bay and Knysna towns, under public engagement and commemorative events. There were 2 Women's Month commemorative programs which were implemented during Women's Month, which is in August, and that took place in Tulbagh and Ceres, which also had the participation of some of our honourable members, as well as municipal councillors in the events. In terms of interparliamentary activities, there were a number of key activities that were undertaken in the year. There was in the quarter, apologies for that. There was the NCSL Summit, which was on artificial intelligence, which was attended by the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and the Secretary. There was also the SADCOPAC conference, and that took place in the USA. The SADCOPAC conference, which took place in Zimbabwe, which was in which some of our members of our Public Accounts Committee participated, and then the CPA Africa Region Conference, which was also held in September, October, and there was the participation of the Speaker, the Secretary, as well as the Chairperson for the Standing Committee on Mobility. Chairperson, some other highlights, which we already kind of discussed during the annual report process, was the culture change journey. So that was further work around that was done in Q2. The 5-year strategic planning period, where the focus was really on stakeholder consultation at that stage. And then obviously conclusion of the audit by the AG, for which the outcome was a clean audit, as we had reported during the annual report. And those are the key institutional highlights. Chairperson, in terms of our performance against targets, in summary, the WCPP has 22 targets for the performance indicators and targets for the financial year, 10 of which were due to be achieved by Q2, and all 10 of those were achieved in the quarter. So the next slide just shows the breakdown of performance per program, where you'll see the 100% performance overall and at a program level. Chairperson, in terms of the detailed performance, in Program 1, under Office of the Speaker and of the Secretary, all FAMPLA compliance requirements were met. So these requirements would have included things like preparation and tabling of the financial and non-financial quarterly performance reports, engagements with the Provincial Minister of Finance in terms of the protocol agreement which we have with the Ministry, also tabling of the annual report and a briefing to the Executive Authority on AG matters. We also, under Program 1, report on progress in relation to some of the institutional enablement initiatives. So some of the initiatives under our core corporate strategies, such as the IT digitalization improvement strategy, the HR strategy, and the knowledge management strategies. And some of the initiatives which we planned in Q2, which we indeed completed, include, for example, the updates to the ERP system, as well as audiovisual enhancement of the chamber and committee rooms, for which specifications were completed by Q2. In terms of Program 2, under committees and plenary support, so 100% of the House papers were electronically available as projected. All draft committee reports were prepared in accordance with the SOP standards in terms of quality and other procedural requirements. All committee decisions were tracked as a means of following through on progress with regard to those decisions, for example, to request information from a department. For Program 3, Chairperson, the key activity there was around WCPP Engage, and this was the main activity planned in relation to the public engagement strategy, and that was indeed concluded within the quarter. Chairperson, there were no targets for Program 4 in Q2, and that concludes the non-financial report for the quarter, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, the floor is now yours. Do you have any questions? Member Barnes, over to you.
Good morning once again, Chair, and to the management. I think mine will just be a comment that I would like to raise when I go through the report. I constantly have been reading on planned targets, and I can see that it shows 100% where targets are supposed to be met, etc. But I think just as a comment, as I was reading through, one would have wanted maybe to understand more, read more about what the targets were. And now if you are only reading the figures and you want to match figure versus what is being said. So for me as a new person on this committee, I think it would have assisted me a lot. Also on the part of culture change journey, I just wanted to check what progress has been made on the planning for the next step as mentioned in the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Petrus.
Chairperson, apology for the noise. Do we have a new strategic plan already, Chairperson?
Thank you very much. I'm just checking, are there any other members for that round? Okay, I will then hand over for responses to those questions.
May I go, Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
In terms of Member Barnes's question, I fully appreciate the comment on the detail of the percentages that is not apparent from the report, and we can certainly include that in future reporting. So that is not a problem. On the culture change journey, I see Mr. Titus's hands up. He may want to respond to that as he's leading the program on that. And then with regard to the new strategic plan, it is still in the development stage, and we should be able to table a draft strategic plan by the end of November, which is actually a FAMPLA requirement, Member Petrus. So yeah, in terms of that, we will also be communicating with members to solicit further input on the actual draft. But that is the status as at now, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Titus.
Chair, thank you. Just with regard to the culture journey, the culture change journey, I think we've had a workshop recently, the leadership team, on the 28th of October, and part of that workshop was really to unpack, understand what role the leadership team will be playing in leading the culture journey within the organization. It was a full facilitated conversation with the team. One of the things that I think we have realized within that context is that it is indeed a journey. It's not going to be an event. Began to communicate the progress of the culture journey on the intranet. Under projects, there is an update on how we've progressed, where we are, where the journey is now. Both members as well as staff will have access to that. I think the central message for us is the distinguishing factors between the culture journey and the climate journey. And part of that is to lead from the front by having the leaders within the organization lead the conversation. We're not completely there yet. It is a process. And so we will from time to time provide updates on the intranet under strategic projects on how we're progressing with the culture journey. That's all from me for now, sir.
Thank you very much. While we wait for members to raise their hands for the second round, if I could maybe ask, what are some of the lessons that have been learned from the performance in Q2, and how can those lessons inform future planning and execution? And then also, have you already started outlining or thinking about what the key priorities are for the next quarter? Members, I don't see any other hands, so I will then hand over to Ms. Goldstone for my two questions.
Chairperson, in terms of lessons learned, I think, a general lesson that we've learned in terms of performance for the year is we've got certain targets that are due for reporting in the last quarter. And so what we've not done historically very well is to track progress against those in year. So while the progress is happening, we are not, especially as a management team, we don't always have sight of the extent to which that is happening. And so we often get caught napping in the last quarter. What we've done better in the last couple of years, in the last 2 years or so, is start to track that in-year progress as well. So you will see from one of the documents you have is the mid-year budget and performance assessment report, as well as the Q2 narrative report. And you will see we've given also there an indication of in-year progress in terms of targets that are due later in the year. So lessons learned, I would say, the general approach is that we do that kind of fast tracking quite early, also so that we are able to do better projections in terms of our spend for the year. So to the extent that we've been able, I think we've been fairly successful in being able to now, as we go into the adjustments, make more reliable calls in terms of what we're going to be able to spend based on the kind of monitoring and tracking processes that we've now put into place. In terms of key priorities for the next quarter, It would be obviously finalizing the strategic plan and the annual performance plan. The program activities, I'll have to ask directors to speak to the specifics in terms of what they are, key big initiatives that they are planning. But it's basically, I mean, by Q3, we would want to have reached quite advanced stages in implementing most of our programs, so that in Q4 we don't have a rush and there's no fiscal dumping or any of that. So yeah, the pressure is really on usually during Q3 to wrap up as much as possible of what we had planned for the year. But certainly the strategic plan and the strategic planning process is still a key priority for the third quarter, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, members. I'm now going to give you a final bite at the cherry. Are there any other questions before we conclude with this segment?
Chair?
Yes, Member
Apologies for not raising my hand. I'm struggling to find my hand raise function. I think I want to align myself with the question that you asked on the projects that are key priority for the third quarter. I only heard management responding to the strategic plan. Are there any other projects that I think outside the strategic plan? The reason why I'm nagging on this question is because at times when you look at the season also, one would find yourself doing underspending if we are not clear also on what the projects are that are put aside for us. Is it only the strategic plan? As I said, we would want to know more as to what specific is there, and if we are going through a third quarter that has a possibility of a slowdown, might there not be a risk of underspending as well? If maybe management can take us through that as well. I want to align myself to your question, taking it further. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, members. Any other hands? Member Peters?
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. How can we improve on public participation, Chairperson? Are we working on it?
Thank you very much, Ms. Goldstone. And I think then there's one question for someone from the public participation unit as well. Over to you, ma'am.
Chairperson, I think if the concern is with the possible spending implications of the rest of the year, including Q3, perhaps the presentation on which is to follow on the financials will give an indication of where the sort of key risk areas in terms of spend, where we are with the spend as at Q2, and also give a sense of the projected spend. So you can maybe get a better sense of how the project rollout is aligning to the spending pattern, if that may satisfy the committee.
Member Barnes, are you happy with that?
Through you, all good, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Then just on the issue of public participation, I can assure the members that we sit and work every beginning of every financial year to optimize all our resources to make sure that our public participation is as comprehensive and as far-reaching as is humanly possible with both the human and financial resources that we have. What we do find, and that's something that will actually assist in optimizing and improving public participation immensely, is the participation of members, particularly in programs such as WCPP Engage. The public come out to see their public representatives, not to necessarily see an administrator. The next WCPP Engage program, which will be combined with gender-based violence, 16 Days of Activism program, will be taking place in Worcester on the 22nd 2nd of November, which is around the corner. So a great first step would be for members to participate in those programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Members, that then concludes our discussion on the second quarterly performance. I'm just going to ask, in accordance with section 37.6 and 66.2 of FAMPLA, were there any instructions issued to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament for the period under review?
My knowledge, Chair, no instructions.
Thank you very much. Colleague, that then concludes that segment of our meeting. We are then going to go over to the next presentation.
Chairperson?
Yes, Mr. Titus?
Okay, we are going over into the financials. I was just worried that you're not going to go there.
No, that's where we're going.
Okay.
You, Chair, if I may.
Please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair and members. I'll be presenting the second quarter financial report, or IYM, as at the end of September, which is halfway through our financial year. So the picture halfway through the year is of our total budget of 258,133,000, which includes direct charges. We've spent, as at the end of September, which is the end of quarter two, 135,445,000, which is an effective percentage of 52.47% of a budget which we have spent. Just with regards to any variances, I'll speak to someone in the separate slides, but just in summary, we are on track with our expenditure. However, there are some projected under expenditure due to the fact that there were some vacant posts which we have identified the utilization of funds for, and as we're at the mid year time period of the financial year, there is still some big spending projects to happen in the third and fourth quarter in the financial year, and that would have led to some projections still to be and expenditure still to occur in the third and fourth quarter. With regards to program 1, we've spent of the 96,461,000, we've spent 43,267,000. That is just less than 45% of a spend, and just the reason for that spend being less than 50% is like I mentioned previously, primarily due to some vacant posts in individual sub-programs, as well as some once-off projects, high-value projects in certain sub-programs, like in ITDS. There is the high-value project for regarding the AV refresh of the chamber and committee rooms, which must still happen in the fourth quarter. However, we are on track, particularly with regards to that expenditure, and we do on a monthly basis have meetings with sub-program managers to identify any possible early warning signals relating to any over or under expenditures on particular projects. With regards to program 2, of program 2's budget of 25,176,000, we've spent 9,949,000, which is a 39.52% spend. And the main reason for that slow expenditure is because this is an election year, and we'll see that in standing committees, because the first quarter there was very little activity due to the election, which we are expecting. Sorry, Chair, I just lost connection here, but can Chair, can you still hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry, I just lost connection for a couple of seconds there. Like I mentioned, so with regards to program 2, because we're in an election year, there was the first and some of the second quarter expenditure was a bit slow, but that's expected to accelerate in the third and fourth quarter, hence the percentage being 39.52%, and there's the indicative reason for that. The indication of that, as you can see, only 7.66% of the committee's budget has been spent as at the end of September. With regards to program 3, we've spent just over 7 million of the 17,444,000 budget in public engagement, and that's a 41% spend. And the main reason for that is particularly with regards to the fact that there were some promotional items which main projects are projected to happen in the third and fourth quarter, and particularly in stakeholder management. The expenditure in the fourth quarter will be quite high in terms of SOPA that's taking place in February next year. Then with regards to program 4, of the budget of 64,527,000, we spent 44 million, that's 68%. And that might look like it's a high expenditure. However, the main reason for that is because of the fact that for the political party secretariat and constituency allowances, we pay that in advance. So as it's September, you'll see that the percentage is 80 and 71% respectively for those two allowances. And that is because we pay the political party's third quarter allowance in September, so that the political parties do have funding available for their expenditure as per the members' facilities guide. And then lastly, Chair, with regards to direct charge, which is member salaries, the budget for that is 54,925,000, which as at the end of September, spent 30,949,000, which is a spend of 56,000 for 56%. And the main reason for the fact that the percentage over 50% there is the fact that in August or in the second quarter, we had paid the members' salary back pay in terms of the last financial year and this financial year, Chair. And Chair, that's a summary of quarter 2 financial report and IOM report, Chair.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, are there any questions? While the members take some time to think, can I just ask, Mr. Jawudin, you mentioned the underspending around vacant posts. Is anybody able to tell the committee how many vacant posts there are at the moment and what those different posts are?
Through you, Chair, if I may ask, I can check Mr. Titus if he perhaps can have some feedback on that. I don't think I see Carolyn in the meeting. So if I may ask Mr. Titus if he has that feedback on vacancies.
I can run through some of the posts, Chairperson. Carolyn, I've omitted that Carolyn is on training, so that is an apology as well for the next 2 days, Chair. So in the Office of the Secretary, the vacancy there is a post that is a project manager post. In the Directorate Institutional Enablement, there are a few vacancies.
Mr. Titus, I just lost you there for a minute. I'm just checking members. Are you able to hear Mr. Titus?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Right. So Office of the Secretary, 1 vacancy. It's a project officer position. In people management space, 1 vacancy. It's a senior position in that space. In the Directorate SIO, there is an officer position vacant. In the space where Mr. Skricker is working, there are 2 vacancies in that area. The one is a senior position, the other one is an officer position. And then I think we are recruiting for the sergeant at arms position. Although that post is not vacant yet, members would have seen that there is a process underway to have that filled. The current incumbent is going to be leaving at the end of December. So we are recruiting for that position as well. I think I've covered all of the posts at this stage. And of course, there's one of our recruits in the PEO space had left at the end of October. So there's a recruitment process in that particular space as well. So it's not all of the same positions, Chair. People come and people go, and people get other opportunities. So within the organization, I think there's also an officer position in the language space that has become vacant due to the incumbent in the post going into a senior position. Those are the vacancies at the moment.
Thank you very much. Mr. Titus, I didn't hear whether you said the post of manager for plenary is vacant. Is that one of it?
And then the manager plenary, Chair, is one of it. There is we've gone on a recruitment process there. It didn't necessarily yield the results that we were looking for. We've then embarked on a second process. We are in the middle of that particular process now to get that kind of recruitment finalized in the manager plenary.
Okay. And of the list of posts that you've listed, which of these are considered crucial?
I think the manager plenary is a crucial and a critical post. It's core function. So that is a very key position. It's a very senior position. Because we don't really have fact chair in how our posts are identified. We've got one or two of a kind of position in the organization. So it is very key that we have the positions filled. If I just look at the PEO position that has just become vacant now, that is a key position in ensuring that the core business, just from an engagement and public education perspective, is dealt with. So, so of the positions, I think the one that is most critical and most crucial at this point is the position in plenary as the manager there. That is I think the most important one. There are other important ones as well, the rest of the positions are important positions, but I think the plenary manager is key.
Thank you very much, Member Barnes.
And Chair, maybe just two more comments from my side. I'm noticing here on the slide that is reflecting currently on screen on the public engagement. I think I spoke about it earlier. I'm noticing 41%, which is not like other projects like that are halfway through. Also, when presented, it is said that there's not much projects planned for public engagement. I always have a view that public engagement is very much important to reach out to communities and for them to always be, actually one would want it to be the one that is mostly planned. I think in our last meeting, I complained saying that for us that are far, we don't get to have the opportunity to bring our people, for example, to Parliament. So when you see the 41%, you would want actually to see it being the one mostly depleted, seeing that many of us are not getting much out of that a function of public engagement. And I'm not saying Parliament is not going to our areas. I can confirm that I've seen programs happening in Karo, also in other areas. But I think where I'm mostly always heading at is we also want to bring our people to the legislature house and participate like any other, because we are part of this province. I think I wanted to raise that issue. And then secondly, Chair, there was another one now that I've I think it had to do with vacancies. I just left the slide now, but the 38%, it's on another slide, Chair. I didn't make a note of it. The last one, yeah, it's parliamentary support services that I also wanted to ask on, Chair. Is it the one that is related to the staff appointment, if I can be clarified? Because also one wants to know as to on how can we be not spending on if it's a vacancies when it is funded, and how does it have an impact when there is no support, parliamentary support staff services, or what is the reason for the 39.52% for me also to be much better capacitated and clarified? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I'll hand over to the Acting Secretary and Mr. Javadin.
I'm going to ask Mr. Javadin to respond to that. The only, if the member is referring to parliamentary support services and vacancies, the only vacancy in that entire directorate is the manager plenary support. So all posts are actually filled within that particular directorate. So I don't think specifically to the vacancies, but I'll ask Mr. Javadin to respond to that question.
Through you, Chair. Thank you, Acting Secretary. Yes, correct. Member Barnes, as Mr. Titus has mentioned, the only vacancy in Program 2 is the manager plenary, and I just went to that particular slide that gives a breakdown of Program 2, and as we can see, that particular sub-program only has a 33% spend, and that's mainly due to the vacancy of the manager plenary. Member Barnes also asked with regards to 39% spend in Program 2, and like I mentioned previously, besides the vacancy in the manager plenary position, the main reason for that is the fact that the slow activity and the standing committee is due to the fact that we had an election in the first quarter, so the spend in the first and second quarter was slow. However, we do expect an acceleration of that expenditure in the third and fourth quarter, because the main reason, like I said, for the 39% spend in that sub-program is the fact that we only spend 7.66% of that standing committee budget of 3.5 million. So that explains the question by Member Barnes regarding the 39%. Then there was another question from Member Barnes regarding public engagement, which is the 41% spend and the 38% spend in terms of stakeholder management. Just to clarify, particularly with regards to the spend, like I mentioned earlier, under stakeholder management, the 38% there, the reason for that spend isn't because of any vacancies or any particular slow spending there. There is particular high value spend planned in the fourth quarter, and that's mainly with regards to SOPA in February. So that spend of the 3.7 million as at the end of September will jump quite a bit at the end of the financial year, once planned expenditure and once of expenditure in terms of SOPA, as well as other ones of expenditure for promotional items under stakeholder management and communication services is expended during the third and fourth quarter. So even though we're currently showing a 38% spend as at the end of September, we're expecting to fully recover and spend the majority of that expenditure as at the end of March or the end of the financial year with regards to that. And then just
Sorry,
Sure.
Mr. Jawardin. Thank you, Chair. If I could just come in there. In the beginning or before the financial year, we work out an operational plan for the entire directorate, that is public education and outreach, as well as stakeholder management and communication services. And we allocate our budget per project for the entire year. And then we have every month we have a meeting with finance to make sure that our spending is on track. So I know that it looks low considering how far we are in the financial year, but particularly what Mr. Jawardin referred to, the SOPA and Beaufort West, but we also go out with the public education and outreach team before SOPA to have educational programs around in the area around Beaufort West, and also bringing people to the SOPAs. But I can confirm, Member Barnes, that our budget is fully committed for the entire year. As a matter of fact, if we get more money, that will even still be good. But we definitely, our money is all committed. Thank you, Darwood.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I think that covers the two questions from Member Barnes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Masipa.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I'm just the same. I think it's in line with what Honourable Barnes asked. So I note that the lowest spend in terms of this report is 7%, and the highest spend is 82%. I just want to get a feel as to what would have been, the previous year's average spend to date, or similar. Is this the similar pattern that you get when you get to the election, or when you just came out of the election? Sorry to say, when you came out of the election. I just want to get a clarity there in terms of why that a big difference in terms of the lowest and the highest spend and the averages. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, any other questions?
Yes, Chair, my hand has been up.
Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Chair, I just wanted to follow up while we were still speaking of vacancies. I wanted to check from management also, when can we be expecting posts to be filled? And also attached to that, Chair, is there a policy in place to upskill the current workers? One cannot also help but to note that there are positions that are not field. For example, the manager in plenaries, as one is preparing and doing research for committee, you find such positions not being filled. If perhaps one can also be taken into confidence, because I had to take lots of time being only my second or third one doing research as to how this committee is functioning. One of the issues I picked up was that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Member Masipa, is that a legacy hand or a new hand?
Apologies, Chair, it's a legacy hand. Let me lower it.
Thank you very much. I will then hand over for responses to those questions.
Chair, if I may respond to Member Masipa first.
Please go ahead.
Okay, sure. Then, Member Masipa, with regards to the lower and highest percentages per spend, yes, with regards to the standing committee spend of 8%, that is a unique. There isn't I wouldn't call that the norm as per every financial year. And I can mention that uniqueness of that low percent is because of the slow activity during the election period. That 7% we do expect to increase in the third and the fourth quarter, particularly with regards to planned oversight visits and committee activities, which has really been a part of the standing committee plans. Additionally, there is some other expenditure earmarked, particularly with that expenditure, I think with regards to members' orientation and workshop, particularly, which we are expecting in the fourth quarter. So the first part of the question, yes, Chair, that is unique to this financial year. We don't expect a 7 or 8% spend by 30 September every year, but that I would say on every fifth year of the first year of every year Parliament, we do expect slower expenditure under standing committees due to the less committee activity in the first two quarters in an election year. Then with regards to the highest percentage, 82%, that is a norm, and we do expect that type of percentage every year. The main reason for that is because of the fact, if I can just go to that slide, give me 1 second, Chair. The main reason for that is that 82%, like I mentioned, is because of the fact we pay members secretarial and constituency allowance in advance. So normally where the spend would be 50%, we pay 3 quarters in advance as at the end of the second quarter. So as at the end of the second quarter, we would have paid the political parties funding for October, November, December already by the end of September. So that percentage is consistent as to what it would be every year, because the policy does provide or say that we need to pay or based on the requirements. Like, for example, once a political party has submitted quarterly activity reports, once the policy requirements is met or are met, we would then pay the parties in advance. And so, like I said, just to reiterate, that is a percentage that would be consistent every year if all policy and members facility guide provisions are met. Thank you, Chair. And then the other question, I think it's probably Mr. Titus again regarding the vacancy question from Member Barnes.
Thanks, Chair. Allow me to just address the issue of, I think Member Barnes had asked Chair 2 questions. The one was around when can we expect to fill positions, and whether there's a training program in place for session. Let me start with the filling of the vacancies. Now, while we have filled some vacancies, and with internal movement within the organization, if I'm thinking of the senior officer strategy and institutional oversight, in that particular position, it was an internal candidate, which means that another vacancy is created within the organization. You can only work against your vacancy rate if you employ external individuals into the organization. When we do internal appointments, and we've had now 2 instances of internal appointments, which meant that those internal appointments had not satisfied the vacancy rate because people moved up and vacated their current positions. So I think that is the one thing that we need to be in mind when we are talking about the vacancy rate, and it's not necessarily all of the same positions. The issue around critical and key positions which are difficult to fill and where there's a small pool of individuals, speaking about the plenary position in particular, there we are undertaking a particular process that we have approval for, to look to see whether we have internal expertise to satisfy the criteria for that particular position. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. If I look at the cybersecurity specialist position, we're offering, and so the factors are varied, Chair. If I talk about the cybersecurity specialist, we've gone through a process where we wanted to appoint somebody in that particular space. The candidates from that particular position really were not suitable, which meant that we've had to redo the process and go there again because it is such a specialization. Our organizational structure is very small, so it's not as if we are able to have any of the other internal people also take on cybersecurity, for instance. So those are just by way of example. The question on, so it's not a one size fits all. We want to fill all positions within, preferably within 3 months. Does not necessarily all work out that way. The plenary position has been vacant for more than a year, and we are now in the tail end of wanting to conclude that particular process through another process now. Similarly, with the cybersecurity, that is a new position that we have advertised, and we've had to do it twice now already because we're not getting the skill sets, and we definitely don't have cybersecurity specialists within the WCPP currently. The question on whether we provide training or capacity building or any kind of thing for staff internally, yes, we do. We do have a workplace skills plan, which is discussed at various levels. There's a training committee of which staff and the union also form a part. And within the context of the training committee, we sign off on the training identified for the year. So it's transversal training initiatives. There are conversations with each of the managers or supervisors in the various teams to provide their needs through to the people management space. And over and above that, even within the context of the performance management system, when there are gaps identified in the performance of individuals or the fast tracking of individuals for career planning or particular areas of focus for an individual, then those are training initiatives that can be proposed, suggested, and can be planned for. Our workplace skills plan has been signed off. I think members of this committee would remember from the annual report that we provide a workplace skills plan, and then every year during the annual report process, we report back on the training that we've provided each year. So yes, that is the way that we deal with that one. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Titus, as well as to Mr. Jawadin for those responses. Members, I don't see any other hands.
Chair?
Yes, Member Barnes.
Apologies again for barging in. I'm not sure if it's a question or is it rather going to be a comment that I'm again wanting to make after hearing the response on the upskilling question that I've raised earlier. I think actually my reason for doing that is understanding that we are having a smaller component of staff compared to other legislatures. And in a case like that, normally you would find that when you have a small component, you also have a basket of skills invested in a small group of people. I think to be more direct and specific, Chair, I would want to say that maybe I should redirect my question in terms of saying, are the workers being also prepared in terms of second layer leadership? Because I'm of the view, Chair, when you work in an organization, yes, I know there are scarce skills. Already we know there are scarce skills that we are not having. What is management doing with regards to that? Yes, I agree we must bring in skills because it won't all of it be here. But are we also making provisions for those that are here for second layer leadership skill, second layer leadership in terms of for you know that the organization won't have the same leadership up until the end of time. Transition is always something that is there, and some workers prefer to work for all of their life in the same department, and with the knowledge that they accumulate over the years, it also enriches their knowledge on what they are doing. But do we have plans of saying that we are enriching them into a specific direction of becoming second layer leadership, one in 10 years to come, in 20 years to come? And that special skill, are we bringing it to them? Maybe I want to make it more specific, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Titus, do you want to respond?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Let me start by saying the following. When it comes to the first issue is this. The Western Cape Provincial Parliament has an extremely flat organizational structure. Member Barnes is correct that there must be consistently a feed of second-tier leadership within the organization. By that same token, all of the managers and senior managers, for instance, have been taken onto a mentoring, coaching program over the last 2 years. But having said that, there were even some of the seniors within the organization who had also undertaken the mentoring and coaching program. One of the important things that I think I've mentioned on a previous occasion is to get our training programs right, but to get our performance management right, so that we are able to identify real talent within the organization, so that that talent can be harnessed into career pathing programs within the organization. Now, while we are training individuals within the WCPP, we are not necessarily training people to take up leadership within the WCPP. We are training people for the broader workforce in South Africa and training individuals for the broader workforce in the world, because that is how it is at the moment. What does become important is that we nurture a pool of talent. We've not completely arrived there yet, and I'm going to be honest. We've not completely arrived there yet, but that is part of the broader process that we need to be undertaking. So identifying talent, identifying training programs, but also I need to say the following, Chair. Career pathing cannot be a superimposed thing on top of a person. Individuals within the organization, my own personal development must be a two-way street, employer and employee. One of the other things that we're doing is providing opportunity, training opportunity for formalized training through a bursary support process as well for members of staff. A number of people had taken up that opportunity, and some have already moved within the organization. Unfortunately, we cannot commit promotion positions for any person in the organization. We are saying we just need to prepare people for readiness overall within the South African workforce. And if they get an opportunity within the organization to move into a higher position, then we are grateful for that as well. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Titus. Members, that then concludes the question under that part of the presentation, because I don't see any other hands. I'm going to ask Mr. Speaker, are there any closing remarks that you'd like to make before we excuse all of you?
Thank you very much, Chair. From our side, thank you very much to the honourable members for once again for an opportunity to engage and for the robust engagement. And thank you for the level of oversight over the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. I always say that Parliament is not just the senior management team or the administration and the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, but Parliament is all it's our Parliament, because we are representing the constituents who elected us and representing 9 different political parties. So thank you very much for the spirit in which we could engage, and thank you very much for the comments made by members, which we will definitely take on and take further in the interest of creating a holistic oversight model for the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. And then thank you very much to Mr. Titus and the team for the work that you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The team of officials and the speaker, you are welcome to get back to your diaries and do the very important work that you're doing. The members of the committee will stick around and continue with our parts of the meeting.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, members.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chief Whip and members. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Members, we are then going to move on to the consideration and adoption of the draft committee report, the second quarterly performance, financial and non-financial. And as I have it in front of me, is that it reads that the report of the Parliamentary Oversight Committee on the Western Cape Provincial Parliament second quarter performance, financial and non-financial 2024, dated 6 November, is as follows. The Parliamentary Oversight Committee convened on 6 November 2024 and concluded its deliberations on the Western Cape Provincial Parliament second quarter performance, financial and non-financial 2024, referred to it in accordance with Standing Rule 89(1), in accordance with Section 37, subsection 6, and Section 66, subsection 2 of the financial management of the FAMPLA. I'm just going to read out the whole word. The Western Cape Provincial Parliament reported to the committee that no instructions were issued for the period under review. That is then the report. Can I ask for a proposer and a seconder on this report?
Proposed, Chair.
Proposed by Member Bryant. May we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Member Van Millen. The report is then duly adopted. Ms. Kamish Ahmed is then going to buzz onto our screen the consideration of the draft committee report for the 2023-24 annual report for the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. Members all received this report and would have read this report. It deals with the meeting that we had. Wait for Ms. Kamish Ahmed to finish with the zooming. This report deals with our deliberations on the annual report. And we will take this report as read because it was sent to all members. And then the report just gives an overview of our engagement with Parliament, broken down into the different discussion points on the annual report. And then it also deals with some of the requests for information and the information requested from Parliament. Then the conclusion. Members, are we happy to adopt this report? May we have a proposer and a seconder for the adoption of this report?
I can propose.
Thank you very much, Ms. Van Minnen. May we have a seconder? Members, Member Masipa.
Chair, good morning again. I do second the proposal.
Thank you very much. The report is then adopted. May I then ask that we beam the draft committee quarterly report for July to September. That includes our tracking document. This document was also sent. Colleagues, you'll see here, the first page contains the committee membership. And then on the next page, it deals with our mandate. And then it keeps track of the meetings that we've had, as well as the attendance of members.
Chair, I'm just flighting now the tracking document.
Yep, the tracking document is being flighted, as you can see, members. This keeps track of the work that we do and the follow-ups that we make to the output of this committee. Members, may I ask for a proposer to adopt the quarterly report?
Proposed, Chair.
That's proposed by Member
second.
Bryant and seconded by Member van Minnen. We're now going to beam the draft committee minutes for our meeting on the 24th of October. And I'm just asking that members please check the attendance on page 1. And then just to ask if there are any changes that members, anything that members have picked up in the minutes that does not reflect the meeting that we had on the 24th of October. I see no hands. May I have a proposer for the adoption of the minutes of the 24th of October?
I can propose again.
Thank you very much. Proposed by Member van Minnen. May we have a seconder?
Seconded, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Bryant. Members, I now ask if you have any resolutions or actions emanating from this meeting today. Member Barnes?
Yes, Chair, I think on the part of the vacancy that I was asking, I got a lot of the explanation. However, I think perhaps if we can just be furnished with a list of trainings that are capacity building, as we understand we don't have all the skills, what are we offering as a legislature to the staff or general in capacity building? What trainings are we giving? If we can get a list of that, and also from which levels, who is attending, from which levels do you qualify, and from where do they take you up until which level to improve your skills? If we can get that, I would appreciate it a lot. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So maybe if we break it down, if we can get a list of the current vacancies as well as how long they have been vacant and where in the recruitment phase we are. And then, Member Barnes, if we ask for a copy of the training and development plan again, and then also a breakdown of which staff members have been for the different trainings that have been offered and what is on offer going forward as well. I can add to what you've asked. Member Ms. Kamish Ahmad?
Chair, can the members just specify a period that they would like this information? From what period?
For the last 5 years, in terms of who's gone on which training?
Chair.
Member Barnes, is that okay?
I agree, Chair.
Wasima, were there any resolutions that you picked up that?
No, Chair. Thank you.
Members, I don't see any other hands for resolutions or requests for information. Ms. Kamish Ahmad, is there anything that I've missed?
Chair, you've covered it perfectly. Thank you.
Perfect, members. That then concludes our discussion today in our meeting. I thank you very much for your attendance in this meeting, and I wish you all a pleasant day. The meeting is thus adjourned, and thank you very much, Ms. Kamish Ahmad, for planning this meeting and also for making sure that we get through everything.